やってみるさ。俺に何ができるかわからないけど。
In mathematics, delta means change. Kamen Rider Delta is from the series Kamen Rider Faiz, originally airing on TV Asahi during mega corporate overlord Toei's superhero time block from January of 2003 to January of 2004. As with all major tokusatsu work produced by Toei, major creative staff are shifted around every season to provide fresh takes on their cash cow toy properties while still working as a vehicle for capitalist gain. That means wildly different creative visions on who or what a Kamen Rider is starts to take form. In one show, it could be a university student kidnapped by Nazi sympathizers and turned into a bug-themed cyborg, seeking to end his former captor's evil plans for good. In another, it could be a high school boy who discovers a secret world of alchemy that the normal world is mind-wiped from seeing, bequeathed a magic belt and chosen one status as he prevents an ancient threat and their 3 homunculi from destroying their known world. Also, he has to collect Pokemon cards. Who talk? Children's show. One universal truth between Kamen Rider shows, however, are core connective traits that the titular hero must embody, or at least one of them in the show. A desire to protect humanity at the cost of their own, selflessness in the face of any obstacle, and a desire to never give up on their goals or ideals. So what happens when a character's entire arc surrounds them running away from these responsibilities? What if they languish the idea of being a rider in the first place? What will it take for someone to finally step up, do the right thing, while still finding fulfillment as a champion of humanity? Every episode of Kamen Rider Faiz is written by Toshiki Inoue, a now infamous screenwriter due to his tendency to lean on specific tropes in his own work, from oddball visual and slapstick comedy, to soap operatic love triangles, to moody existentialism deeply questioning what it is to be a Kamen Rider in the first place. Toshiki Inoue's desire to question that ideal could be chalked up to his relationship with his own father, the original writer for 1971's Kamen Rider, as well as many subsequent series in the franchise, whose work on said shows created a notably strained relationship between father and son. While he's noted in the past to have enjoyed the series growing up and his work at Toei has received praise both critically and financially, this almost rebellious attitude about what is deemed normal or expected bleeds into almost every show he's done. This Luciferian vibe, going against the grain of their father's expectations, is no less visible than Toshiki Inoue's magnum opus, Kamen Rider Faiz. Spoilers for the entirety of Kamen Rider Faiz, obviously. And hey yo, shout out to 𝒴𝓊𝓇 subs. We wouldn't have made this video without fan subbers like them. Kamen Rider Faiz is the story of a conspiracy surrounding the megacorporation known as Smart Brain and their leaders, the grotesque mutants known as Orphanocs. Beings born of a random mutation upon death, which allows them to live beyond it temporarily, as well as turn a select few victims into lesser, weaker spawns of themselves. Orphanocs are a mix of X-Men, mutants, and vampires of the masquerade variety, a society that exists underneath the world of man, manipulating or controlling some of their laws or businesses to fund their greater goal of, yes, world domination.
Of course!
But also the longevity of their lives. There's of course a hierarchy within Smart Brain, the CEO acting as a guiding hand alongside the various board members and unsuspecting human investors. However, many Orphanoc that are recently turned or born in the sense of a tragic, untimely death are sought after by Smart Brain in order to sway them to their greater goals. And if they aren't found or go on some kind of rampage as a result of their unstable abilities, they hide their true Orphanoc nature to live alongside humanity peacefully, until their second death is at hand. This is no different from the main protagonist of Kamen Rider Faiz, Inui Takumi, who died as a young boy and was given great power as an Orphanoc, but hurt people in his past and fears doing so again. So he keeps his true form a secret to those he meets and outright refuses giving his name or letting people into his life for fear of doing it again. He travels the 4 islands on a motorcycle, never truly finding a place he can call his own, with partial memory loss from an incident that happened a year prior to the series beginning. He has no goal beyond survival, no dream to sustain him or give him hope. He is completely and utterly alone. That changes when he runs into a precocious teenage girl named Mari Sonada, accidentally switching bags with her and in turn seeking his lost belongings. He chases her to find she's also being stalked by Smart Brain operatives, hiding in plain sight and attempting to kill her and steal what was in her bag, the Faiz gear. One of 3 belts meant to be wielded by select Orphanoc for a faction of Smart Brain's greater goals, Mari cannot use the belt given she's not an Orphanoc, handing it to Takumi as he reluctantly transforms into Faiz to hide his identity as an Orphanoc. He saves Mari, who grows immediately curious as to why he could use it but not her. Unsure of himself or what exactly the Faiz gear really is, Takumi attempts to shirk responsibility at first before agreeing to join Mari in her journey to Tokyo. doing so to find her father, who was the former president of Smart Brain. Mari's father isn't blood-related, however, instead being raised by him alongside several other children in an orphanage he privately ran called the Ryusei School. A year prior to receiving the belt, Mari and most of her classmates awoke one day with scattered memories about their class reunion several days earlier. The rest of her classmates are either missing or dead, so Mari's taken on this mission from her absent father in order to find him and at some point return to the semblance of a normal life she once had, including her dream of being a hairdresser, which she starts using Takumi as practice for, given his luscious locks. On their way to Tokyo, the two meet, berate, harm, and inevitably befriend another teenage boy named Keitaro Kikuchi, whose family's dry cleaning business is in need of more employees since his parents left for a nondescript African country to help make the world's laundry a pristine white, a dream Keitaro also shares with his parents, hoping that clean clothes can make the world truly happy. He fails in transforming into Faiz, though.
I read, did you say want?
Mari and Takumi take Keitaro up on his offer because of free food, housing, and temporary income, but grow to become true friends with Keitaro over the course of the series. So, with a place to live and roommates he never asked for, Takumi helps with Mari's investigation into Smart Brain as they cross paths with other Orphanoc either under their control or randomly transformed amongst the populace. All the while, Takumi is forced to keep his secret from Mari and Keitaro for fear of being seen as the same kind of monsters that kill and feed on people on a regular basis. Will Takumi reveal the truth? Will Mari discover the truth about her father? Will Keitaro stop being such a fucking pushover? Find out in Kamen Rider. Yuji Kiba is an ordinary man with a loving girlfriend and a family he cares for deeply. His precious little life, however, sadly ends via four-way intersection, killing his parents instantly while he's left comatose for a year. The rest of his family in that time have sold his father's business to pay off their own debts, as well as signed the warrant for Kiba to be taken off of life support, DNR. Oh shit, he resuscitated! With his girlfriend moving on to his cousin Kazuaki in the internum and alone in a world that's moved on without him, Kiba starts developing strange powers which manifest in super hearing, strength, speed, and of course, an altered form in the shape of a centaur. Killing his cousin in cold blood and later his girlfriend for throwing him under the bus while she was under surveillance by the police, Kiba is offered a place to live by the company known as Smart Brain. First forced to kill beyond his revenge against those who wronged him, Kiba still believes he's human despite his transformation into an Orphanoc. So he rebels against the system while still keeping the same apartment they gave him, living to potentially stop their Orphanoc rampages, but more importantly, blend in still with humanity. He lives alongside Osada Yuka, a high school student who was personally abused by her father and teenage half-sister due to her coming from a previous marriage. Bullied mercilessly to a point of exhaustion, she dies on an overpass and awakens as an Orphanoc. Still scorned by her family despite an attempt at saving her half-sister's life, she goes on to massacre all the girls in school who bullied her, running away into the arms of Smart Brain. These two souls still dream of being human, Kiba making it his goal to create a world where Orphanocs can live alongside them in peace. The latest and final addition to the group, however, is Naoya Kaido, a former guitar prodigy whose fingers were crushed in a motor accident, costing him his dream and, in the midst of an Orphanoc rampage, his life. While physically weaker than Kiba or Yuka, Kaido remains a wild card in terms of loyalty and treatment of the people he lives with. Will these three stop the Orphanocs of Smart Brain in their quest for subjugation? Or will they cast off their humanity fully and give way to their worst impulses, becoming the very monsters they seek to fight? That is the story of Kamen Rider. Masato Kusaka's mother died in front of him. Lost in the wilderness until he was rescued, he learned the meaning of the word helpless from a young age. Taken into an orphanage called the Ryusei School, the meek and asthmatic boy was bullied for a time for his weak disposition. The bullying only stopped due to a kind girl named 𝒪𝓅𝓃, who he idolized for her bravery as well as her beauty. Developing a crush that lasted throughout his boyhood, Kusaka grew up alongside the students as he tried maturing into the kind of man he thought Mari would want him to be. Stalwart, serious, but still kind to those he cared for. However, he wasn't the only one seeking Mari's affection. An odd boy named Aki Sawada who picked on the two also harbored feelings for the girl. As time passed, the orphans graduated from the Ryusei School, parting with nothing but love for each other as Kusaka plans to attend university. Kusaka believed he was finally ready to be the person Mari needed him to be. Then, he died. At a class reunion without the orphanage's adopted father Hanagata present, one of their own turned into a vicious monster known as an Orphanoc, slaughtering them alongside another stronger, violent commanding officer. Kusaka tries to defend Mari's life, but is traumatized by the sight of her blood and his own weakness in the face of such injustice. He dies, like everyone else in their class, only to wake up screaming on an operating table. Knocked out once more. Awakening with a slightly hazy memory but sure of what he saw that day, Kusaka decides to train himself, seeking revenge on the monsters that killed him and his beloved. He develops a desperate need to do anything to achieve his goals, a hunger that can only be fed through revenge. And when Mari arrives, seeking him alongside the rest of his once dead classmates, he knows his mission is just. Given a belt from their absent adopted father that killed their classmates in their own quest for answers, God deems Kusaka lucky enough to keep using this dangerous weapon without immediate fear of repercussion. However, he isn't the only one looking to settle their score. Aki Sawada has been turned into an Orphanoc, killing those who get in his way of his twisted version of justice. Seeking to not only get revenge on the monsters that murdered him and his love, but to prevent anyone from falling to the Orphanoc menace, Kusaka becomes a hero that fights in the shadows for the betterment of mankind, no matter who they are or what they used to be. Kusaka will end them, for he is Kamen Rider. Faiz is about all of these characters, each with their own goals, dreams, and purposes in the narrative. Each of them is the main character of their own story, and in another life, the show itself. That's the draw of Kamen Rider Faiz, an intermingling web of motivations and relationships that push the narrative forward in interesting ways, making the reveals of these secrets and the mystery behind Smart Brain's goals all the more enticing. In some moments, it's a YA romantic drama, with characters weaving in and out of petty but impactful interpersonal squabbles. In others, it's a dark sci-fi series about body horror, transhumanism, and what it means to be human. Sometimes it's a slice-of-life comedy series about a bunch of teenagers living in Tokyo with toyetic action scenes with flip phones that double as laser pointers. Kamen Rider Faiz goes against the grain of what it means to be a Kamen Rider series in so many ways that it loops back around to being faithful. It has a protagonist go from someone aimless, cold, afraid of who they are, to someone with a tight grip on his convictions, someone who stands by the people they care about and has grown into a role of a hero that would gladly protect other people's dreams. Every side character ties directly into this theme of dreams, not literal dreams, but what motivates each of them to keep going in life. For some, it's as simple as working in their desired field and doing it well. For others, it's achieving greatness in a particular art or instrument. For the rare few, it's something more lofty, desiring to see the world end up a particular way and trying everything you can to realize it. For some, it's just to get through the next day. And these dreams don't stay stagnant, they grow or change alongside the characters. Faiz is an ensemble show through and through, and it takes great pride in giving each of its 7 main characters the time to shine. Some more than others, obviously, but the longer the series goes on, the deeper these characters and their central arcs become. What people like Kusaka and Sawada are willing to do in order to achieve their dreams leads to tragedy, born of a selfish mix of self-actualization and their own hubris. What people like 𝒴𝓃 become after feeling weak and unimportant for so long in their lives and finally doing something about it. What people like Kaido feel after closing the curtain on a dream they could never fulfill, and the pain of finding a new dream after so long. If you can't tell, I really like this show. So much so that I wanted to re-examine a character that I feel many people who have watched Faiz either don't talk much about or don't think about at all in relation to why Faiz has attained this cult TV status. Kamen Rider Delta. More specifically, everything that leads to Delta's primary user and the character we follow thereafter. Now, I want to stress this is not a substitute for Faiz, and you can legally attain it very easily. So, with that out of the way, what's the deal with Delta? Don't let Seinfeld around Mari. Delta formally first appears in episode 26, but it was alluded to beforehand, or at least the existence of a third belt. Hanagata originally created the belts as head of Smart Brain to protect the potential Orphanoc King when they first emerge, ideally used by 3 trusted Orphanocs in Smart Brain's employ, given all the weapons the users would have access to. The Ryusei school was created in the hopes of finding and maturing the King Orphanoc, but was deemed a failure by the company despite Hanagata's genuine emotional investment into the orphanage. So after the students are killed by a splinter faction within Smart Brain during their school reunion, they're injected with Orphanoc cells in the hopes of salvaging the students into worthy Orphanoc. Only one of them is turned into an Orphanoc, but it also proves that anyone injected with Orphanoc cells can be brought back from the dead. A year after their memories are re-spliced to have the reunion be a blur, Hanagata sent out 3 belts in the hopes of taking down not just Smart Brain, but the existence of Orphanocs as a whole. One of these was sent to Mari, one of them to their teacher, and the final belt, the Delta Gear, to a strong-willed girl named Saya Kimura. specifically bequeathing the belt to Saya because Hanagata knew she wouldn't fall victim to the belt's worst side effects. While still prone to injury while using the belt, the Delta Gear surfaces the latent Orphano abilities of the revived students as they're slowly corrupted by their most selfish impulses. After the many deaths of the Ryusei school students using the Kaisa Gear, the students give Kusaka the belt as the rest go and search for more answers, and in turn, Saya, who hadn't joined them at that point, keeping the belt a secret due to her own insecurity about wielding it, let alone her classmates. However, they urge her to give them the belt and join their quest, reluctantly doing so as several boys put on the Delta Gear, corrupted by its very power. So, Saya steals it once again and runs away to Tokyo, hoping to find a more worthy user than herself to use the belt. She ends up getting a part-time job at Kikuchi Cleaning, having been made aware of Takemi's exploits prior to this. She slowly bonds with the boys of the group, especially Takemi, given they both cannot, and I mean cannot, eat or drink anything too hot, as Mari deals with the infighting and murder caused by the belt's disappearance. Meanwhile, Aki is making his debut and is courted by Smart Brain to join the Lucky Clovers, their top group of Orphanocs who we follow throughout the series as a third subcast with their own dedicated plotlines. Aki isn't hesitant to kill humans in order to gain their trust. The difficult part comes in the form of his former classmates, and especially Mari. However, after Saya saves Mari from two Delta-corrupted classmates desperate to get the belt back, the very same classmates are killed by Aki, seeking to cast off the rest of his humanity. Drained from the fight to save Mari, Saya collapses in Kikuchi Cleaning as Kusaka attempts to fight off both Aki and a mysterious but familiar new member of Lucky Clover, the one-touch killing Orphanoc, Kitazaki. Takemi takes care of Saya as she asks him why he fights in the first place, that he believes he'll be able to save someone each time. Takemi says a secretly not-so-bullshit answer that if he's still alive in 10 years, he'll tell her then. Saya is charmed by this and believes he'll save many people, revealing her true intentions as the wielder of Delta before Takemi is called by Mari over to the fight with Aki. Saya somehow catches up to Takemi at some point, but before she can transform on-screen for the first time, she's killed by Aki in cold blood. The Delta Gear is tossed to Kitazaki, giving Smart Brain their only rider in the fight against our heroes. Now, I will admit, Saya as a character is a bit wasted given what she provides to the narrative. She's a Ryusei school student with justification as to why she's never turned up until now, and the three-parter she's introduced in gives us plenty of reasons to both like her, as well as believe in her potential integration into the main cast. She has qualities that endears her to the boys while still connecting with Mari on a personal level, while potentially posing a threat to her increasingly romantic relationship with Takemi. She comes from similar circumstances as someone like Kusaka, even manipulating situations to her favor, but isn't as openly malicious despite the Delta Gear's side effects. She's been proven to be efficient in combat, and that's clearly not just because of the Delta Gear. She was chosen for a reason, even though Mari was chosen for Faiz and proved to not be able to use it. Hanagata's plans aren't the tightest, not gonna lie. Female secondaries or even tertiary writers are becoming increasingly more prominent within the last decade, but outside of side content for Ryuki or Electric Tackle all the way back in Stronger, this is the first major female Kamen writer in a broadcast series. And she dies in service of a male character's development. Womp womp. Classic Inoue. So, Saya isn't the main user of the Delta Gear. Is Kitazaki? For 4 episodes, sure.
Are you kidding me?
Well, the Delta Gear proves to be incredibly powerful in the face of both the friendly Orphanocs as well as Takemi or Kusaka's arsenal. It's still not enough to stop either from surviving his assaults. More than that, attempting to interrupt a duel manipulated by Kusaka into happening between Takemi and Kiba, Kitazaki is thrown aside as he slowly realizes that the Delta Gear is boring him.
You serious?
The exact same day, Mari attempts to talk with Aki alone in the hopes of winning him over, and oh shit! Mari sits in critical condition, Kitazaki offering Aki the belt given he's much more comfortable using his broken Orphanoc form. Aki considers using it, making for yet another interesting potential user. And then we meet the real guy.
Huh?
This fucking guy, who appears 33 episodes in without prior setup or explanation as to where he's been, is the primary user of Delta. And the first thing out of this guy's mouth is, "Hey, guys, can I go home? I gotta get to work soon."
Excuse me, what?
This is Shuji Mihara, yet another Ryusei school student who hasn't given a backstory beyond that. He wasn't chosen by Hanagata, he was killed pretty quickly in the incident, has no notable hobbies beyond motorbiking, and no noted profession despite his desire to go to work, or more often, go home. He is a coward. and he ended up being one of my favorite characters in all of Faiz. But he won't be wearing it yet. First, the students are called by Aki. More specifically, their resident exposition vehicle, Rina, was called by Aki. He wants to meet the survivors and talk. Mihara, despite everyone's doubts he'd show up, actually does. Mainly due to obligation, since he really doesn't have a mind of his own beyond fitting in, whether that be in greater society or amongst his own family. Aki arrives and tosses the Delta Gear to Kusaka, claiming he wants to make a game out of killing the rest of the Ryusei school students, giving them a fighting chance since they're all so pathetic. In response, Mihara declares, "Nuh-uh, I ain't dying here, I'm not involved anymore." This only confirms Aki's feelings as he walks off.
Prepare yourselves for the hunt.
Aki's boss and CEO of Smart Brain Murakami doesn't like that he willingly gave away the only real reason why Aki was recruited in the first place. Murakami asserts his dominance over the upstart Orphano, Aki escaping but a hit being put out on him. Around the same time, Takumi has once again, and I mean once again, this is the third time this has happened, given the Faiz gear away. He believes Mari died because of him, and that he doesn't have what it takes to protect people. Instead of someone like Murakami like he did the first time, Takumi gives the Faiz gear to 𝒴𝓍𝓉, who then gives it to Kusaka. Kusaka then considers giving all the belts, all three of them, to Murakami so Mari can be returned to life. He even tells Takumi this, saying he's no longer involved in the conflict anymore, so he can do whatever the hell he wants with the Faiz gear. Takumi has already been made aware Kusaka's hiding his own resurrection from Smart Brain. So while he disagrees with the belts being handed over, he does think making a deal with the devil doesn't sound so bad. Before Kusaka can arrive at Smart Brain HQ, he has a breakdown. An anxiety attack driven by his wants contradicting his needs. Yes, he wants Mari back, but his core desires are driven from his pride. He needs to feel strong, needs to finish the fight and be the hero he's already proven himself to be. He needs to get revenge. And he can't do that if the 𝒴𝓍𝓉 gear, the one thing beyond all the mortal skills he's accumulated, is no longer in reach. He apologizes to Mari's spirit for being so weak, and that he'll find a way to make this right. Takumi, however, has a different sort of scenario. He talks with Murakami, who offers him a spot on Lucky Clover to replace Aki, given his recent betrayal. Murakami taunts him by saying, "Oh, well you'd need to be an Orphano in order to do that, right? And you aren't. Boo-hoo." The offer, however, sounds all too enticing. And given Kusaka failed in his mission, it's only a matter of time for Takumi to take drastic measures of his own. Back with Mihara, the remaining students stop in the middle of a tunnel and... Oh shit!
何度言ったらわかるんだお前。逃げちゃいけないんだ。俺たちは力を合わせて俺たちの運命と戦わなくちゃいけないんだ。
Well, when you put it like that... Run, boy, run! Mihara attempts to escape with Rina, but it's a failed effort. Aki is about to kill them both, but Kusaka arrives with the Delta gear. It's time for Mihara to fight. Mihara, again, doesn't even want to after what Ota said, and Kusaka's had enough. Mihara says he wants to go home. How about fighting for a home to go back to? Because right now, none of them do. And Kusaka is still fighting. Kusaka repeats the same words his father Hanagata echoed into his mind episodes ago. Tatakae, Mihara! Tatakae! So, Mihara dons the Delta gear. He gets some good licks in, goddamn, and it's ruined. Great! Saeko, a member of the Lucky Clovers, arrives to tell Aki if he takes the belt back, Murakami will probably let him back into the group. So, they double-team Mihara before Kusaka has to step in and cover his ass. Takumi arrives with 𝒴𝓍𝓉 and Kiba after receiving a call from Rina. 𝒴𝓍𝓉 tosses the belt to Takumi, but he doesn't take it. Instead, he steps before the fight, and in the middle of broad daylight, a werewolf emerges. Takumi fights the group off and runs away. The rest of the group is left to pick up the pieces, Kusaka confronting Kiba, believing he knew Takumi was an Orphano before this, only to be shut down. Kusaka's tried manipulating Kiba far too much at this point, and Kiba won't fall for the same tricks. You know who will? Mihara, who Kusaka tells to use the Delta gear even after that embarrassing first outing. Mihara ponders Kusaka's words as he works on his bike, Rina asking him what he even plans to do now. A smart brain assassin arrives to take the Delta gear, and Mihara finally realizes maybe Kusaka is right. Maybe he has to fight. So he transforms, delivers his first rider kick, and declares to Rina, "I'm going to try, even if I don't know what I can do."
Oh, it's so good!
So we've gotten to the turning point of Mihara's character, from nothing boy to potentially cool. And I want to take an aside and look at this entire situation through Mihara's perspective. He's an orphan. He's never had anything close to a family beyond the kids at this orphanage. He's had no combat experience, no special talent, no stated goal beyond survival. He's an average person for all intents and purposes, just hoping to leave the adoption system and enter the workforce like anyone else around his age. He's had a somewhat happy childhood and a man who he called a father there to protect him, but nothing else. He's just as aimless and insecure as the people who watch this show. Then, the man he considers his father goes missing. Soon, his classmates, his only remaining family, start disappearing too. He joins whatever remains, watching everyone use a weapon they're so gung-ho to use, until they start dying in front of him, either against monochromatic creatures who can kill in a near instant, or using the very same weapon their loving father gifted them. He starts to doubt the mission, and himself. They'd almost given up hope when they gave away the 𝒴𝓃 gear to Kusaka, who they still have no idea how he even survived using it more than once. The Delta Gear's arrival only made things worse. Another false hope which leads to the Ryusei school students, again, his family, to turn on and inevitably kill each other. Even Mari, a classmate that tried acting selflessly without a suit of armor to protect them, tried to convince someone that was once a part of their very family to rejoin them, and falls victim to the very same conflict he's been trying to avoid. And yes, Mari dies. She gets better, obviously, but don't worry about that right now. So, of course, Mihara wants to run away. Of course, he says he just wants to live a normal life. It's incredibly selfish, of course, and he has no legitimate profession stated beyond maybe bike mechanic, but he doesn't have powers. Worse than that, he doesn't have willpower. He's doubting everything he's ever known, from his childhood memories to the world they live in, and just wants to make the rest of his life count. However, as his friends will remind him over and over and over again, he can't get out now. He's in too deep. And inaction is action. So he'll act, not solely due to self-determination, but for others' sakes, to do what little he can in the face of the same cruel destiny that claimed his family, even if he can't do that much. Now, is he 100% cool from this point on? No. Does he get marginally cooler as the show goes on? I mean, he learns how to use his gun. That's pretty cool.
He even has a coconut weapon.
From here on out, Mihara's role is reactive instead of proactive. While he has a goal now, he doesn't have a dream. So he still relies on Kusaka and those around him to give him meaning and, especially with Kusaka, orders. As the mystery surrounding Smart Brain and Takemi's own role in the Ryusei school incident start to unravel, Mihara is put on the job of hunting down Takemi given his betrayal, despite, returning Mari to life. Which I'll admit is executed in a way that shows how unnatural the resurrection of these students were, and still are. Mari's essentially Frankenstein, and the world she left behind, she can never return to. This is her new norm. It's not the same as the old norm. Rina stays by Mihara's side throughout the rest of the show, actively questioning Kusaka's actions and pushing Mihara to develop the backbone that someone like 𝒴𝓃 only got in, episode 32 after being told by Kaido to stand up for himself? And then the two save an orphan from a burning building? With Mihara, he's never really questioned whether or not Orphanocs are really monsters. And when Rina challenges why someone like Takemi would even betray them given how much he's helped in the past, it causes Mihara to slowly but surely start defying Kusaka. Slowly. First, he loses the belt again. Mihara's win-loss record is 1-1 now, with one tie. But hey, Takemi shows up to save them from today's Orphanoc becoming Delta and... Dude, you didn't kill him. Bro, and he's out cold. Great. Mihara and Rina watch over Takemi's unconscious body and consider what to do with him. As Takemi wakes up and tries to get away, Mihara asks if Takemi is still their ally or indeed their enemy. If he's a human or an Orphanoc. Takemi doesn't have an answer. But Murakami does! Here we go, boys! Get him, Mihara! God damn it. Takemi fights valiantly, but Rina calls for Kusaka and a weakened Kiba, who has survived his own fight with Kitazaki, and was given the Faiz gear by Takemi during their regular bro-downs at the batting cages, trusting him, an Orphanoc who constantly tries to be human more than himself. Murakami survives and escapes, Mari chasing after Takemi, who just wants to be left alone. Kusaka questions Mihara and Rina answering for them that Takemi saved their lives. Kusaka says Takemi isn't to be trusted. He never should. These words, along with his multiple failures today, drive Mihara into a deep depression. Alexa, play To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Arguing that he can't use his legs anymore, Mihara stays in the spare room of Kikuchi cleaning, staring at the very belt he was chosen to wield. Or throwing it around. Bro, that's 6,800 yen! It's not cheap plastic! When he's outed as the liar he is, Kusaka and Rina call him out, saying that Kusaka, and the rest of the group, can't rely on him at all. Mihara goes back to bed, Rina taking the belt for the battle ahead. Kusaka hunts down Kitazaki, but is ambushed by the jobber of the week. Mari and Rina arrive, Mari failing to coax Takumi back home and resolving to use the belt herself as Rina becomes Delta. And they lose. And Mihara just watches in the background. Takumi does too, but he can't watch anymore! I feel it slipping! He takes the belt from Mari, as well as the brand new toy that was delivered to Kikuchi Cleaning earlier that day, and transforms into Faiz's final form, Blaster Mode. It's a boombox, don't question it. He bodies Kitazaki so badly that even after escaping, the man is still salty. So when Takumi shows up later with no belt saying he wants to take on the entire Lucky Clover gang, how could he say no? Meanwhile, Mihara throws the belt into the fucking street because he hasn't learned his goddamn lesson, and Rina dives for it, getting in a car accident. Rina lays in the hospital unconscious, Mihara crying for someone, anyone, to tell him what to do. Rina, miraculously, wakes up. She tells him he isn't the only one who's afraid of fighting, but they mustn't run away. Mihara harps so much on the idea of going home when the truth is, they don't have a home at all. None of them do. What they're fighting for isn't just revenge or protecting humanity, but a home to go back to. That if they live life to the fullest, they'll finally find a place they can rest. Mihara leaves and calls Kusaka, who's been stalking Mari after she first interrupted a duel between him and Aki. One where Aki questioned why she was so willing to come back, despite how afraid she clearly is.
Mari says she'll do anything for Takumi, and that means asking for Aki's help. So, Aki gives away Takumi's location after he's knocked him out, going to face the Lucky Clovers in his stead. As Takumi resolves to be a hero once more due to Aki's selflessness, reconciling with his Orphano origins, Mihara declares that he will fight as Delta. As Aki gets beat down by the 3 remaining Clovers, Kusaka arrives and declares his undying hatred for all Orphanocs, regardless of their claimed moral allegiances. He rider kicks Aki into the river, soon becoming the target of the Lucky Clovers as Aki schleps towards its deathbed. Mihara arrives to lend a hand as Aki is found by Mari and Takumi, finally expiring after proving once and for all he was still human. Hey, remember when Aki killed all those people? Takumi returns to the riverside as Kusaka and Mihara are kicked out of their rider forms, declaring that he will fight on, both as a human and as Faiz. This is the moment that made me watch Faiz initially out of context, and it's what drew me into Mihara given how confident he seems in this moment. That doesn't stop him from being bodied by Kitazaki leading into the next episode's opening, but whatever, it's the little things. Mihara uses his fucking gun in tandem with Takumi and Kusaka's armored knuckles to temporarily ward off Kitazaki, ending the fight. Kusaka congratulates the two of them for finding the will to fight again, but looks directly at Mihara when he says, "I don't know when you'll lose it again either." Mihara just takes this on the chin, he's kind of a Chad now. Anywhoozin, Takumi returns home finally and it's all smiles and the gang goes to the amusement park and shit, I have to talk about the love triangles before continuing, don't I? Well, it's an Inoue show. So, Takumi and Mari are in a sort of enemies to lovers situation. However, Kusaka is a male manipulator and tries reinserting himself into Mari's life at every turn, gaslighting her and her friends so she can, and I quote, become his mother.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
𝒴𝓍𝓉 has been in a long-distance relationship with Yuka the entire show and before that, but doesn't know her full-ass real name, so when they meet IRL, he just calls her Osada-san given he doesn't know who exactly she is. Constantly fumbling and Yuka misinterpreting 𝒴𝓍𝓉's intentions despite knowing another fucking person named 𝒴𝓍𝓉 who she only emails via flip phone. Yuka, during all this, given her history of abuse, both familial and in the system, turns to a figure who perpetuates that abuse through emotional manipulation and false promises of romance. Kaido, who also tries to gaslight 𝒴𝓍𝓉 into believing he also didn't help save the orphan named Teruo they rescued from a burning building. This orphan is plot important, by the way, just keep that in mind. Kaido also had a huge stinking crush on Mari that was never requited, so it's just Kaido acting like a creep and getting bonked each time. It really highlights how aimless Kaido feels as a character, passively as an audience member and purposely in the show's narrative.
Kiba and Mari seemingly have a thing, and in the Faiz novel, they're a couple. Don't read the Faiz novel unless you're a diehard fan and want to hear about Kusaka becoming a sex offender, but in reality, they're just good friends. Honestly, the only person I ship Kiba with is Takumi, and that's only doomed to fail miserably. Mihara is the only one given a singular love interest, the relationship of which grows over the course of the show's remaining episodes. There. That's the love triangle stuff. It's much, much worse in Inoue's later work. Yuka is scouted by Smart Brain to fill the missing slot in Lucky Clover since she's been hiding her true strength the majority of the series, as well as just hiding in general since the police have been investigating her disappearance after the death of her high school basketball team. The police, or at least a sect of the Japanese Defense Force, has been co-opted by a trigger-happy G-man named Minami, who aims to hunt down the various Orphano loose in Tokyo to both find a cure or just control them outright. Yuka's attacked on both sides and transforms to flee enemy fire, but that only draws more attention to her and the quote-unquote good Orphanox. Kaido bails on the group, saying he's had enough and lies about leading Yuka on, as Kiba is convinced that if he or Yuka turns themselves in and tries to make a dialogue with the police, they may be treated differently. Yuka tries to do so without Kiba knowing, and is only turned into a test subject for Minami's experiments, leading to a breakout from their currently captured Orphanoc, who takes Yuka and tries to run after Takumi and Kiba, who fail in their own negotiations for Yuka's safety. The two find Yuka and the dying Orphanoc, recognizing the cruelty of the humans that kept them captive. The Orphanoc flees as Takumi falls after them, the police surrounding Kiba and Yuka. Kiba fighting back, blaming humanity for their friend's torture. Keitaro spots the Orphanoc on the move as he drives the cleaning van, calling Kusaka to tell them about the monster on the loose. Kusaka and Mihara corner the Orphanoc and engage, but Takumi arrives and allows the Orphanoc to escape. Kusaka just wails on Takumi for this, but Mihara pulls Kusaka away, telling him he doesn't believe Takumi is the enemy. The two demorph. Kusaka punches Mihara in the face and he just takes it, no bitching. Through pretty decent color theory and civilian costuming, Kusaka declares that the world will be split into two camps soon. One for humanity, one for Orphanocs. And both of them need to decide with their Orphanoc killing belts which side they truly stand on. Tensions from here on out between Takumi and Kiba, the two versus Smart Brain, and especially Yuka and Keitaro, come to a head in the next few episodes. Kiba brings Yuka to Kikuchi cleaning until the heat dies down. Kusaka simply tolerates it because he's an Archie Bunker level racist part of a superhero sitcom, as Yuka is finally given not only a place she can stay, but live potentially long term. People who encourage her to feel comfortable as she is and find her own dreams beyond the trauma that's riddled her past. However, she doesn't know if she truly belongs and considers joining Smart Brain. At this point, she knows Keitaro is her Keitaro, telling him she's leaving via text as Keitaro races after her. The truth finally revealed twofold when Sayako arrives, Yuka whooping her ass in a duel, and Keitaro, in one of the most iconic moments in the whole show, hugs her from behind.
What?
He'll accept her as she is, take on her burdens, because that's what a good partner does. Keitaro's arc this whole time was about growing into a man that people can rely on. And this moment, this pivotal plot beat that represents the calm before the storm, is the penultimate example of how much of an ally Keitaro is. Hey, what's Mihara doing? Kaido is still obsessed over getting the orphan he saved to like him, but the orphanage he's staying at currently is now partially run by Mihara and Rina, taking upon themselves a job that not only befits them given their past as orphans, but also Mihara's stated dream. He wants to help, no matter how little he actually can, and this is the perfect place for him. That's further codified when Kusaka confronts Mihara, telling him his goal of confronting Kitazaki one last time, needing his assistance. Mihara silently rejects this, but is reminded that they're simply seeking revenge on their own murders, going along with it. So, they fight Kitazaki, barely surviving before the final blow is halted by Hanagata, who has returned just in time to save his children, revealing his human form to Mihara just before he leaves, Mihara blacking out. Mihara, at this moment, is confronted with a core issue in his character arc. His absent father has returned, and he saved him, basically telling him, without words, his revenge really isn't worth it. And despite the prior stated plot-important orphan running away from the orphanage and going under Kaido's tutelage, because again, plot important, that doesn't take away from the accomplishment Mihara and Rina have made together. They don't have a home to go back to, why not just make one? As all hell breaks loose, from Yuka being murdered by Sayako and blamed on the police's intervention, Kiba's fall from r/nice guys to r/nihilism, Keitaro's grief after losing the one he loves, and Kaido raising what can essentially be called an antichrist, Mihara is the only one still trying to hold on to something, still trying to keep a semblance of a normal life as he takes care of the people who truly need him. Not just Kusaka or the Ryusei school kids. Speaking of the little shits, turns out the orphan named Teruo is actually the newly arisen Orphano King. Feeding on fellow Orphanoc, both employed by Smart Brain and independent of their plans. No one in the cast is aware of this, and after Mihara arrives to save Teruo and Kaido, he won't know for a while. Mihara fights valiantly against the gun Orphanoc without using his fucking gun, but Takumi arrives and finishes the fight using Accel form. There goes one recurring antagonist, I guess.
Bye, have a beautiful time!
Given the Orphanoc's clear intention to hurt Teruo, the gang elect to keep Teruo at Kikuchi cleaning, given Takumi and Kusaka's presence there. Mihara, also at the table, insists he'll be able to help too. And that's brushed aside. My man is done so dirty, oh my god. Kusaka starts having doubts about their upbringing under Hanagata, given he's an Orphanoc, asking if Mari still remembers or holds those days in high regard. She does, but wonders why Kusaka would deny their father's love for them. Kusaka doesn't deny their father's love, but only doubles down on the fact that Orphanocs that are wishy-washy, desiring to be human in any way, will grow to resent both humanity and Orphanocs alike. Pick a lane, liberals. Over at Smart Brain, Hanagata and Murakami talk about Hanagata's betrayal of the plan to revive the Orphanoc King. Hanagata giving him a big ol' fuck you before enacting his own plans, usurping Murakami as CEO, and placing Kiba as the new man in charge. Yes, Kiba, who under his tutelage killed Minami and gained revenge for the death of Yuka. However, his plans are only going to get more extreme. Murakami sends a hired gun after Teruo, Takumi and Mihara double-teaming the Orphanoc, and Mihara rider-kicking the monster into Takumi's fist, ending the fight for good. Damn, that was satisfying. Wait, where's Teruo? Murakami arrives, takes the Delta Gear and the Jet Sliger, the bike Mihara has yet to use once by the way, Kusaka arriving for the two's final duel. Kusaka manages to CGI fest the belt off of Murakami, Mihara running to put it back on. Time for a threesome. Murakami survived the triple rider kick, but escapes and collapses in front of Teruo. He offers himself to his king, fulfilling his dream, but not living long enough to see it. Hanagata kicks his corpse as it turns to dust. The threat of the king is worse than he thought, so in his own plan for justice, Hanagata makes 6 new belts to create something called Ride Troopers, giving them to Kiba in his mission to kill the king. Kiba enlists Kaido, unaware that Teruo is the king, and he's incredibly apologetic and appreciative. He's being given a purpose basically through nepotism, and he'll take it. He knows if Kiba is in charge of Smart Brain, he must be doing something good. Meanwhile, Kusaka's being racist again, but he gets a migraine. I'm sure he's fine. Smart Lady arrives. I forgot to mention Smart Lady. She is now mentioned. She takes Kusaka and Takumi to Smart Brain HQ, Mihara waiting for them as they meet with Kiba in his office. Kiba keeps it brief. He wants them to help in killing the king. Kusaka outright refuses because he doesn't trust Smart Brain, and Mihara follows him, asking why he won't hear them out. Kusaka says Mihara doesn't understand a thing, and he should keep following his orders. Then BAM! Hanagata shows up, enters an elevator, and Mihara can't help but enter the same one. Mihara arrives on the ground floor without Hanagata, Kusaka desperate to know what their father even said to him. Mihara reassures Kusaka that their father is the same as he ever was. Kind. He tells Kusaka, and later the girls, that their father wants to meet with them, his children, one last time. And you know what? I'm happy for Mihara. He's reconciled with the one man who genuinely abandoned him other than his real blood-related parents, claiming it's for his safety. And maybe he was right. Still, it's satisfying seeing him smile for once, doing the same thing his kind-hearted father did for him all those years ago. Mihara, as of this moment, is finally breaking free of Kusaka's influence, becoming the quote-unquote kind secondary in place of an increasingly unhinged original. So when Kaido quits Smart Brain after discovering mid-slobberknocker that their target is Teruo, guess who he enlists to help destroy the Ride Troopers? Mihara apologizes to Hanagata over the phone, saying he has something he must do, effectively saying goodbye before Hanagata fades into dust. He knew he wasn't going to last long, and so he tells Kusaka, separate from the rest of the group, that both of their times are running out. If Kusaka uses the Kaiksa gear again, it will kill him. He should let go of his grudge against the Orphanocs, let others take the wheel, and live a life unburdened by hatred. The two leave their facility to see Mari and Rina together, but Kusaka stops Hanagata. He won't let another Orphanoc near her. no matter who they were before, ever again. Haragata's fine with this, dying in front of him, begging Kusaka to live. Kusaka says he'll live, and he'll keep fighting. Kusaka's called by Kiba. He's kidnapped Mari, and he's waiting for him. As this happens, Mihara and Kaido are outnumbered, relying on Takemi's late arrival to seal the deal on the riot troopers. This fight is intense, Mihara losing his belt temporarily, but still trying to fight in spite of it. Takemi returns the belt and helps deliver the final blow, but I wouldn't consider this just Takemi's win. This is Mihara's, through teamwork, and he finally feels like a reliable member of the team. Anyways, Kusaka fucking dies. Killed by the Lucky Clovers and a 𝒀𝓉-wielding Kiba, his neck snapped over the ocean and faded into dust. The only thing remaining is a picture of Mari, which Takemi and Mihara find. Realizing he's dead, Mihara cries out his name. Rina learns the news and cries in Mihara's arms. Mihara prays to Kusaka that he lives on through him, that his strength will become his. While his strength lives on in Mihara, his loathing for Orphanox lives on in Takemi. Telling Mari and 𝒴𝓉 as they set up a spaghetti dinner, Takemi runs out believing all Orphanox should die, including him. Mari catches up to him and the two cry it out. Mari tells Takemi that she wants to return to the site of the Ryusei school. She wants to honor Kusaka at the place they first met, and he agrees. Mihara, Rina, 𝒴𝓉, and 𝒴𝓉 coming with them. As Mari laments their childhood's end, Lucky Clovers arrive for 𝒴𝓉 and to kill the remaining students. Takemi and Mihara transform, but the fight without a third rider seems futile. However, Mihara has a brilliant idea.
Shoot them in the head.
They do! Dual rider kicking his Kitazaki is forced to flee. First whipped by his own cowardly comrade before being hunted down by 𝒴𝓉, consuming him as he begins his final transformation into the Orphanoch King. Takemi's finally aware of the monster's true identity, and during another hunt for an Orphanoch at Kikuchi Cleaning's 100-year anniversary, goes to fight 𝒴𝓉 himself. Kaido tries to stop him, but he can't. The only one who can being Takemi's own willpower, and Kiba using the 𝒀𝓉. Takemi's knocked out of his rider form and tries to go again, but just like Kusaka, his time is running out. Takemi runs off, Kiba kidnapping him and using him as a test subject for Smart Brain, as the Lucky Clovers ensure the king's full awakening in a private location. Kaido's gone looking for him and somehow finds the facility, Kiba waiting for him inside as he watches the king mutate further. Kiba's done a 180 due to the discovery of Orphanoch's temporary lifespans, the likes of which he told Kaido and Takemi episodes before. His logic is simple. If all Orphanochs are simply doomed to die and are considered a separate race entirely from humans, why not ensure they can live forever and truly assert what they really are? Kaido goes to the rest of the gang for help. Mari and 𝒴𝓉 join him in freeing Takemi as Mihara goes straight to the facility, choosing to fight. Takemi is freed and the gang escape, but their path is cut off by Kiba. Takemi tells the gang to catch up with Mihara, who's trying his damnedest to keep the Lucky Clovers at bay. Takemi and Kiba face off, Kiba asking if Takemi is afraid of dying. Takemi says of course he is, but that's why he's living every day to the fullest, all so he can protect humanity. The two fight, Takemi winning after a hard-fought effort, but sparing Kiba. Kiba begs to die, wondering why he was spared. Takemi says he'll protect all humans, even ones who cast off his humanity, like him. Takemi meets up with the gang as they fight off the Clovers and the fully awakened king. Now I want to stress this. Mihara has been holding the line by himself, without Kaido's assistance or Takemi's afterward, for 2 hours! Kaido arrives just as the king awakens, and even then, it's not enough to stop him. It's a desperate fight, but Mihara has more than held his own. Takemi arrives and tries his hardest, but it isn't enough. Mihara is bodied into a wall for good measure, and all seems lost, until Kiba arrives. He doesn't know what's right anymore, and would like Takemi to tell him. He transforms, the other two joining him for one final struggle. The king slashes away the rider kicks and destroys the 𝒀𝓉. Kiba transforms into the horse Orphanoch one more time, briefly flashing into his human form as he does, and holds the king in place as Takemi delivers the final blow. 1 month later, Sosei Orphanage. Mihara and Rina enjoy the day, the battle feeling like forever ago. Mihara tells Rina something, that what he feared in the end wasn't the Orphanoch's lust for power, but humanity's. However, humans will do what they must for their dreams. Rina agrees, saying it's their job to nourish and protect them for the next generation.
Now, this is the final moment of Mihara screen time. I know, very tragic. I don't even want to cover what happens at the very end because again, this is not a replacement or full-on recap for Faiz. But I want to stress something. What Mihara is talking about in this moment isn't just Minami or the humans working for Smart Brain or the cruelty of the adoption system he was thrust into. It's his classmates. Kusaka became corrupted by power, blinded by his dreams, and hurt those around him to achieve his goal. Pride goeth before the fall, and the same can be said for those who wielded the Delta Gear before him. They all fell victim to their innately selfish desires for heroism, and their hubris led them to see the folly of their actions, if not for a moment. And while someone like Saya being sidelined despite her strong will really sucks narratively, we saw someone grow from a spineless, selfish, but damaged person into a selfless, empathetic, and wiser human being. One who could wield the Delta Gear without corruption. Sure, it was annoying getting here. Mihara really isn't the strongest or the smartest or even the most memorable of Kamen Riders, but he is to me. I have a love for this sort of archetype, this coming of age for useless teens in anime like Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, Dead Man Wonderland, etc., because in real life, most people, despite their constant insistence that they are, would never be a hero in the same situation Mihara is in. He has all the tragedy possible to make a hero, but it's quiet, understated. We don't brood over it because Takumi and Kusaka do enough of that. Instead, we see the weight of this responsibility take its toll on Mihara. See how his own expectations fail him and how he fails others for simply giving up when things get too hard. Mihara persevered, and despite not getting enough screen time in a show as needlessly complex as Faiz, he still managed to make an impact on me. Delta in mathematics means change. And with the ever-changing hands wielding the Delta Gear, only one has been deemed its true wielder. You know, until Paradise Redeemed, but we don't talk about that. In short, Shuji Mihara may not be the strongest or the wisest or even the most likable of riders in the entire franchise, but he is certainly the Kamen Rider of all time. Thank you for watching.